Greetings and welcome to the baddest show out of Guyana, also known as Skuntville. Since my last video, a lot of developments took place with respect to our elections, which is still unsettled. Up to now, the official results have not yet been declared. Just in case you have not been following, here's a quick recap of what is taking place in Guyana at the moment. We've had elections on March 2nd, and a few days after, a plot to rig the elections results in favor of a particular party was uncovered. All the local and international observers cried foul, and the USA was the first to indicate if a government is sworn in based on a process that lacks transparency, the government will not be recognized and face consequences they impose on illegitimate governments. The immediate issue, however, is that the ballot boxes contain the truth of what happened on polling day. A recount of all the ballots will reveal who won the elections. Now, I don't trust Jagdeo, who is the leader of the opposition and the president by proxy if the PPP wins. But GCOM and the PNC are making this dude look like an angel. Based on what I'm seeing on social media, it appears as if the hardcore PNC supporters are good with the rig and believe it's justified because the PPP did some shady shit in the past. Namely, the swearing in of Janet Jagan in 1997 after the death of Chetty Jagan. They are fully well aware of what will happen if Granger is sworn in against the backdrop of electoral fraud, but they don't care. Let the blow and bring on the sanctions. Let's go back to the rig attempts that failed so far.
The need to issue consequential orders and directions in this case has been rendered largely unnecessary because we understand that the GCOM chairman has voluntarily resigned his office since the delivery of our judgment on 18th June 2019. It is now a matter of the greatest public importance that the president and the leader of the opposition should, as soon as possible, embark upon and conclude the process of appointing a new GCOM chairman. This imperative is now of the utmost urgency in light of our decision in the no confidence motion cases that the motion was validly passed, thereby triggering the need for fresh general elections. The court refers to the views we expressed at paragraphs 26 to 29 of our earlier judgment in this matter as a suitable frame of reference for the process leading to such an appointment. In all the circumstances, it is necessary for us only to make the following declarations and orders. 1. The process utilized to appoint Justice Patterson to the post of GCOM chairman was flawed and in breach of the Constitution. 2. The said appointment was void. 3. Costs in this appeal and in the courts below are to be paid to the appellant and to be borne by the Attorney General.
Fit and proper Patterson. This was the Guyana Elections Commission chairman and PNC agent that was unilaterally appointed by President Granger, which the Caribbean Court of Justice later ruled unconstitutional. Patterson had to step down, but not before corrupting the elections preparation process and causing major delays. His departure paved the way for the appointment of retired Judge Claudette Singh, who has had the blessings of both the president and the opposition leader. There were other attempts to delay going to the polls, like house-to-house registration, among other things. But let's fast forward to the actual elections. Region 4's returning officer, who is a PNC agent, attempted to introduce numbers from a spreadsheet he pulled out of his BTO to tabulate Region 4's votes. The observers, small parties, and the main opposition all protested and said it was unlawful for him to do that. The opposition took the matter to court, and Justice Roxanne George Wilshire ordered that the returning officer follow the process prescribed by law for the tabulation of votes. The returning officer disregarded the order and went back to the spreadsheet. The opposition took the matter to court again, and the judge clarified her orders, insisting that the statement of polls be displayed for everyone to see during the tabulation process. The chief elections officer, which is a PNC agent, moved the operations from GCOM's command center to their headquarters in Kingston to display the SOPs on a blurred projection. At this point, it was clear to everyone that tabulating the SOPs that were manipulated by GCOM cannot be trusted.
Has withdrawn from the process in relation to verification. And we have done so because we believe that the process is not transparent. We believe also, and we've said before time and time again, that we challenge GCOM, a company, an organization that has been well funded, that does not have the administrative items in place to ensure that a proper verification is done.
What sort of items?
A projector, a screen, and to have clerks who are computer competent to ensure that they can expand an image on a computer screen to ensure that it works properly on a projector.
Can you give us an idea of what exactly is happening?
We have a problem with that. Exactly what is happening, apart from the fight, is there is no understanding or no visual in relation to the SOPs that are being displayed on the screen.
So it's on the screen, but you can't see it.
It's on the screen and it's blurred. And we would not participate in a process whereby we cannot identify numbers so that we can compare them with SOPs that we have. As such, we have withdrawn.
Could you just give us an explanation of some of the things that you've seen? Were there physical SOPs that were scanned and then put on the screen? Were you showed the physical SOPs, anything like that?
No one was shown or had an opportunity to examine the SOPs. From where we sat, it was identified that the SOPs that are being used are photocopies. And we challenge constantly the RO in relation to the authenticity of those SOPs that are being used. We also requested to have a view of them so that we can see whether or not the identifiable marks that are supposed to be there are there.
And what was the response?
The response was those were his SOPs, and as such, we were not allowed to examine them.
So the thing comes up on the screen. What happens then? Somebody sits and calls the numbers. What happens?
One of the clerk calls the number from the SOPs that were scanned previously. But as she calls, we're not able to verify those numbers on the projected screen because of the size and the incompetence of the GCOM staff to ensure that the administrative procedures are correct so we can see.
We were told by Commissioner Gunraj that the RO has said that he's not taking any comments or questions from the floor.
No questions were accepted. No questions were allowed. It seems as though we're in a situation whereby, and URP said it before, we believe that the elections have been seized and hijacked by GCOM.
You said you've withdrawn from the process.
We have withdrawn from the process.
What does that mean? You're not going to enter that building again?
Well, unless there is clarity and systems put in place so that a proper verification process can be done. We understand that it's the RO prerogative to use whatever methodology he chooses, but at least that method that is chosen must be something that is acceptable to most of the persons present.
So when that 4 o'clock hour came, nobody stood up and said, this is how we're going to move forward from here?
There were no questions being accepted by the RO.
No, the RO didn't stand up and say, this is how we will proceed, we will put the thing on the projector, we will call out the number.
They did say that they were going to put it on the projector and that we were going to have an opportunity to see it. But we have not yet had an opportunity to see what was projected, those images.
So all of these statements have all put up, you've not been able to make out any?
We have not been able to make out any.
Thank you very much.
Is this common among the people in the room?
That's common among the persons in the room, and that's why many of the political parties and the observers have begun to exit.
This is when the president called CARICOM to come and supervise a recount of all the ballots. CARICOM mobilized immediately and was in Guyana ready to do the recount, but the PNC agents in GCOM helped delay the recount long enough for an injunction to be filed against GCOM to block the recount.
I have just learned of this. We came across to the court. I've just obtained a copy in an application that is done by Miss Yulita Grace Moore and against the Elections Commission, the chairman of GCOM, the chairman of the Elections Commission and Chief Elections Officer. Lawyers are Mr. Robertson, and what he's applied for the court ex parte for Justice Holder, he has obtained an order to prevent Guyana Elections Officer from setting aside or varying the declaration of the 10 returning officers. He's until the hearing and determination of this action, which is returnable for Friday, an injunction that the Chief Elections Officer can't submit any report pursuant to Section 96, 1 and 2 until hearing and determination of this action. Order granted restraining the Elections Commission from permitting or authorizing any agreement, any actions pursuant to the agreement between the President of Guyana and the Leader of the Opposition until the hearing and determination of this action, and restraining the second and third defendants from doing anything in relation to the agreement between the President and the Opposition Leader and CARICOM. So essentially what has happened is The president and the opposition leader, the leaders of the main political parties, have made an agreement. But someone has come, these are attorneys who have been involved in the last proceedings, and these attorneys have come with another litigant, and they're coming to stop the proceedings. Exactly what we were saying to everyone last night, that what they were going to do is to do that. Now this either means one of two things. It either means there are two parts or two factions of the APNU party, or the president is flip-flopping. He's doing A and doing B, and he's deceiving people. Either of these two things, why would you want to stop the recount? They've given their word to CARICOM that they should do the recount. The recount is legal, lawful, permissible under our law. There is no doubt that that is the position. I have seen that the legal advisor to GCOM has written to say that there could be no outside, or that agreement would have no validity. I respectfully think she's wrong, that she's mistaken. The act is very clear. GCOM has overarching authority over everything that happens. So what are we going to do now? We have all the people here to count. We have letters have been sent to everyone that counting would commence at 5 p.m., but apparently that's not going to happen anymore. Why wouldn't anyone want the will of the people to be respected? Why would anyone try to stop a recount from happening? But we'll find out. These matters are all returnable for Friday. It is returnable for Friday at 9 a.m. I will tell you in 1 second. Yes, Friday at 9 a.m.
So what you're saying essentially is that the commission cannot go ahead with any of the recount that was set to begin until this court case.
This order is going to be done. We, of course, have the right, and any interested party has the right before the 20th to file an application to the court before the 20th and to have this set aside and have the action discharged. The order discharged and the action set aside. And I rather suspect that's where we're headed.
So your party will be filing an application?
We intend to not let this stand. This is preposterous. How could the leaders agree to something and someone else then go and get someone else to go behind that agreement? The agreement was very simple. CARICOM would do the supervising of the recount of all the votes. We would know what the will of the people is. And both sides, well, at least Dr. Barrett Jagdeo has been saying very clearly, let the chips fall where they may. Do the recount, and whatever is the result, we will abide by it.
Meanwhile, the USA is still threatening sanctions.
A quick note from South America, and then I'll take some questions. The United States is closely monitoring the tabulation of votes in Guyana, the election took place back on March 2nd. We joined the OAS, the Commonwealth, EU, CARICOM, and other democratic partners in calling for an accurate count. We commend CARICOM's role in seeking a swift democratic resolution, and it's important to note that the individuals who seek to benefit from electoral fraud and form illegitimate governments, regimes will be subject to a variety of serious consequences from the United States.
If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. And if you're new to this channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep updated with the rig and other stunts emanating from Guyana. This shit is far from over. My name is Mudwata. Boom out!